Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Everybody's coming in. Lovely to see you this morning. A little bit of change in the schedule this morning because we have the lovely Gareth with us today. Morning, Gareth. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Hello. Yes, I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, really good to see you this morning. Everybody, let's see who we've got coming in. We've got Dane, we've got Graham. Morning. Lisa, hi. Suzanne, let's let everybody get in. It's March, believe it or not. Who can believe that like 2 months have gone already? It's unbelievable.
Don't even. I cannot believe
by. It really is flying by. So yeah, morning to everybody. We've got a few people in the room. Just to say this morning, we have got a little bit of a change in that Stuart is not with us today. He's still feeling a little bit under the weather. So we've got Gareth standing in. Thank you very much, Gareth, for being here. Have you had a good week so far, Gareth?
Yes, yeah, it's been a mad week. It seems to have gone quickly like the rest of the year. But yeah, no, it's been a good week and obviously always happy to come back to the hub. Always happy.
It's lovely to see you. You've been away far too long. It's lovely to see you back again. I just think there's a little bit of spring in the air, isn't there? It's lovely sunshine outside. The blossoms are starting. I think it's going to start changing our mood, hopefully.
Oh God, yeah, I definitely feel so much better. This sort of the January blues that have gone, and now the sun is shining and everything's great. I feel like I'm about to break into a musical.
Oh, don't break into a musical yet, not yet. How's everybody else feeling in the room? Put in the chat, tell us how you're feeling so we can gauge what everybody's mood is like in the room. It's going to be a really good BizHub session today. I'm really looking forward to it. We've got a couple of guests hopefully joining us in the audience today. And yeah, we're just going to crack on with the show. So let's see what we can do. Let's start my screen. And there we go. Just make sure can everybody see my screen? Have a look. Yeah? Everybody saying they can see my screen? Perfect. Right. One thing I just did want to mention to everybody today, in relation to how you view this, and some of you may know this already, but I'm just going to talk you through it in case you don't. At the top of the screen, there's a little button that says View Options. If you click on View Options, and this is only if you're on a computer, but if you click on View Options and you go down, you can do, it's called Side by Side. If you click that, and then there's a line, you can drag it across, which will make the slides slightly smaller and the presenters slightly bigger. They'll be of equal size. You can jiggle around with it and see. We found that it's actually much easier on the eye to use that system. So give it a whirl. Let us know if you've worked it out. Gareth will monitor the chat and see if it's working out, but hopefully it is. But welcome everybody. Here we are. It is March. We have a brand new topic. Topic for March is planning for the future. And I think there's no more time like the present to plan for the future. We've had a tough year and a bit. Let's plan for the future. We've got a fantastic talk lined up for you today. So I'll just run you through for those of you who are new to the schedule of the hub. I'll just run you through how the weeks work. So week 1 today, we have a presentation session, and this session is open to members and it's also open to guests. And we have a guest speaker with a Q&A to follow. And we've got a real treat for you today. So I'm really looking forward to introduce that. Next week, we have an inspiration session. That again was a guest speaker with Q&A. Week 3 is our collaboration session, which has worked brilliantly in January and February. I have to say, it's really been well received. It's been lovely to see everybody in the room really working on the workbook. So make sure you book into that. And then, of course, in week 4, we have Mastermind. Now, last month we had, well, last week actually, in February, we had an unusual situation in that both sessions were completely fully booked. So I'm sorry to anybody that tried to book on and couldn't make it, but unfortunately we only had the 2 sessions. We limited it to 10 people per session. So make sure you book on early. We have a morning and an afternoon session. If it continues to be fully booked, we will look to be putting on another session as well. But it's the first time that's ever happened. So I'm thrilled that people have all come along and really wanted to engage in the mastermind. It's a fantastic session. So yeah, that's the week 4, how we run it every month.
So I'll just quickly run through the timings. Obviously, most of you will know the timings by now, but So from 9:30 to 9:45, you have the lovely me and Louise to inspire.
You do Louise very well, Gareth.
I think so. And then from sort of 9:45 to about half 10, we'll have our guest speaker come on. And then from half 10 to half 11, then we'll sort of upgrade you all to panelists, and then we'll open up to a Q&A session where you can ask our guest speaker anything that's on your mind.
I just want to update everybody on the benefits actually of the BizHub. So make sure that you use your BizHub online profile. All the talks, all the previous talks are on there. You can update your profile, really use it. It's a fantastic resource of so many amazing talks. We've obviously booked onto the events. It's great when you book on. It also helps us gauge how many people are out there. So book onto the weekly events. I've mentioned before the mastermind, it proves invaluable. We've got the business growth tracking that we do as well. And I think really importantly, you're part of a like-minded community. And I think that it goes without saying how much that has been really, really useful in these last, year and a half. So it's really, really good. So make sure you do that. And the WhatsApp group, who knew? We put the WhatsApp group out. It's such an active group. People are putting all sorts of things on there, their wins, tips, all sorts of things. So that has proved to be really, really useful. So I just wanted to remind you of your Signal BizHub benefits.
So wins and learning. So if everyone can just start thinking about their wins or anything they've learned this month or this week, start putting it in the chat, and then we're going to come to it in a later on.
We'll come to it at the end. Prepare your wins and learning, start putting them in the chat so we can have a look at those. Just to reiterate, March is planning for the future. Today, we obviously have Hilary Carden coming to talk to us. And next week, we have Mike Weston, and he's coming to talk to us about a post-traumatic growth opportunities. He's got a really inspirational story that you don't want to miss. So make sure you come along and book onto that.
So just the sort of the common sense disclaimer in here. So obviously everything that's said is general in nature. So you just need to make sure that it is right for your business. If you do have any questions or want any sort of specific help, just get in contact with us and we will put you in the right direction.
LinkedIn Local, 16th of March, and it's our birthday. We've been running LinkedIn Local for a year. Can you believe it? I mean, I literally remember it like it was yesterday. So this month, we're going to have a little birthday celebration going on. So make sure you book your tickets. And if you haven't booked on already, book on. It runs every month on the 3rd Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. Hopefully, we'll be putting it in a venue, actually going out soon. So fingers crossed, if everybody sticks to the rules as we're supposed to, make sure that you all stick to the rules so we can go out, because I'm looking at venues at the moment and I'm very excited, as you can probably, I love going out.
Well, that's
it. Please book on and come and join us. It's really great to see you all there.
So April, next month, what's the topic for next month? Marketing, what's new? So make sure the event's all up on Eventbrite ready for you. So go have a look, book on early, and find out what's new in marketing.
Any guests we've got in the room today, please put your details into the chat. Make sure that we know who you are, and if we could ask you right at the end after the Q&A session, if you could stay behind, and then we will talk to you about find out about you and your business and whether joining the BizHub community would work for you and your business. You will also get an email after the session as well, just to outline everything that we do here at the Hub.
Right, so let's have a look at some of your wins.
Let's have a look and see.
So there's a win here from Sue. So she says she's had a great week. Win number one is introduced safeguarding children course. She's also finished Lorna's card order, and she's collecting it on Monday. Well, there's lots here. Gosh, you've had a really good week. So you've had lots of people connect with you to do one-to-ones. You're also making cards, and oh, you found out that Vicky's brother lives only 6 doors down from you. That's a very good win.
Wow, amazing. I've got a win here from Gnome. She smashed her quarterly target for the first time ever, which is amazing. Really, really good. Really good. Who else have we got?
So there's one here from Sheila that I feel needs to be highlighted massively, and I think this is a really important one.
What is that?
Sheila's learning is that she can't manage without Gareth.
Oh, Sheila, that's lovely. Oh gosh, we're going to have to live with that. Wow, Sheila, that's lovely. Keith has put his win. His GDPR Weekly Show is now the #1 GDPR podcast worldwide with over 40,000 downloads. Wow, Keith, that is incredible. Amazing. That is so, so good. You should be so proud. And he's also going to be a keynote speaker at an international cybersecurity meeting at London Olympia at the end of September. Please, I mean, this is incredible. Well done. That's really, really good. Well done.
Don't forget us when you become famous.
Yeah, don't leave us behind, Keith.
So we've got here Michael Stockford's just had his first Google review, which is fantastic. It's all about getting those Google reviews. And thank you, Angie.
Wow, well done. Review. Very good. John and Fiona have got a triple win. Goodness me. The Algerian grease plant is now up and running via something resembling remote commissioning over WhatsApp. Wow. Okay. The Algerians have ordered more additives within a day of our quote. Goodness me. And a spare part order from Qatar Lubricants. You're so international, John and Fiona.
No,
that's incredible.
Gosh.
That's amazing. Well done. Well done. That's really good.
So we've got Joanna has set a monthly marketing plan off the back of the BizHub Mastermind sessions. That's
fantastic. Oh, well done, Joanna. Very good. And she stuck to it this week so far, which is also really good.
Yes, got to stick to it.
And Suzanne, morning Suzanne, she's trained more people in February than she did in November to January put together. Wow, well done, Suzanne. That is really good. It's so amazing to hear businesses. I love this part of the BizHub. It's so lovely to hear all the, all the wins and learnings. It's just so good that people have this platform to be able to speak. So thank you, everybody.
100%. So we've got Dane here, his win. So doubled our first month sales forecast. Learn it's really cold outside in February. Yeah, I don't envy you for what you do, especially over these last couple of months.
Wow, well done. Morning, Dane. Lovely to see you. Vicky's got lots of little wins. She's had had some great one-to-ones this week with Sheila, Noam, and Sue, and it was great to get to know you all more. And she can now explain what she does more clearly. I tell you what, we talked about that, didn't we, in the mastermind, and I just want to reiterate it today. I think, it's a really good idea for everybody to make a concerted effort to have one-to-ones with people that you don't know very well, that you don't normally talk to. We've all got our little cliques within the hub, the people that you generally talk to a lot. Like, really make an effort, because it makes such a difference. Not only that, you learn about somebody else's business, so you're always learning each time, but it also makes you speak about your business. As Vicky's just said, the more you speak about your business, the more you talk, the more you explain, the more it becomes a really easy thing to explain. So when you're in front of complete strangers, it becomes natural the way you explain your business. So really well done. And I would encourage everybody to do that. So maybe next week we can touch on that again and see how everybody's done with that in the week.
Definitely.
Really, really good. Right, I think we've got one last one at the bottom, I think here, from Joe. She's had a great one-to-one with Noam about greeting cards. My research is well underway for producing a pack of cards. Limited edition printing research underway too. Oh, and the schools are back next week. We haven't mentioned the schools are back next week. Amazing. Thank you everybody for sharing your wins. It's always so lovely to hear about that. I just wanted to mention one other thing. Obviously, the budget was out on Wednesday, or was it Wednesday or Thursday? No, Wednesday. Wednesday. I know all the days meld into one at the moment. We've Emma and Andy Tree have written a really good blog, which is on our website. So head over to that, and the blog is up there for you all to have a look at about some different perspectives on it, etc. Good, right, we're bang on time. So without any further ado, I am going to introduce our today's guest speaker. She She helps business owners implement strategies that turn company profits into personal wealth and family security. She founded Cardans in 1993 and Cardans Pension Trustees Limited in 1995, and has been working with her clients for over 25 years. She was one of the first women to become registered life planner and has 30 plus years of experience of managing pension schemes. I love her company strapline. It's brilliant sorters of financial stuff. And I would ask you to really give a warm BizHub welcome to Hilary Carden. Come on in, Hilary. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello. I'm glad to be here.
Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to hear everything that you've got to say and to talk to our lovely BizHub community that we have here this morning.
Great. Okay. I'm looking forward to it. Good. All right. Thank you.
Gareth and I are going to leave you now, and we'll be in the wings if you need us. So enjoy.
Okay. Right. Well, hello everybody. It's good to be here, and it would be nice to be in a room with you, but this is second best. So hopefully I can get my message across and get you inspired to sort out your personal financial planning as a result of this chat. What I'm going to do is just to set up my slides. So if you just bear with me one moment while I do that. Right, okay, now then you should see that. Hopefully it's working okay. I'm going to carry on the basis that it is. All right, so yes, I'm Hilary Carden, and why am I here? Well, like you, I'm a business owner, and I don't like to admit how long I've been in business, although Louise very kindly told you. I actually set up my own business in 1993. And prior to that, I was working for a big corporate and decided that the corporate life was not for me. I really enjoyed talking to people and dealing with them on a more individual basis. So I decided to set up my own business. We are independent financial advisors and financial planners, and we particularly deal with small business owners. And we also particularly deal with small self-administered schemes, which are a bit like SIPs, but for companies. So when I set up the business in 1993, I think this next slide summarises how I felt when I began. Yay, starting my own business, and I'm sure that you've all gone through that. It's really exciting when you first set up in business. It's also a bit scary, but it's a really exciting feeling to have lots of ideas and really want to get started. That said, running a business can also be a bit like this. You can feel sometimes a bit overwhelmed, you feel like you're drowning, you don't know what you're doing. So this was also me at the time, and you know, I will admit that it is also me from time to time these days as well. It is hectic. As business owners, I think it's true to say that we are often time poor. I mean, there are lots of strategies, and I'm sure, like me, you probably read about time management, and you're trying to make the most of your time all the time. But as business owners, we are time poor because we do have a lot to do. And the last 12 months has also been really testing. I was looking at a report from Simply Business, a COVID-19 report recently, and they actually produced this report just towards the end of last year. And they found that 25% of SMEs felt that they were at risk of closing in the next 6 months, which is a really sad and quite scary situation. And the reason I mention it is not to depress you, because we all know that this is the situation, but I mention it because one of the important things about having a personal financial plan is because it is your option if the business doesn't go well. So what you're doing is you're spreading your risk by having your own personal financial plan. And unfortunately, what I find is that too many business owners are so caught up in the day-to-day running of their business that they just do not get round to sorting out their personal financial planning until much later on. So I want to encourage people to really start thinking about this as soon as possible, and it's never too late to start. So where do I start? This is what you might be saying. This is what a lot of people say to me. You know, I'm busy with my business. Financial stuff is really confusing. It's overwhelming. There's too much choice. Where do I start? Who do I trust? So what I'm going to do is run through 6 simple steps that I suggest you consider as part of your personal financial planning. So the next slide, this actually defines your success. You understand risk, you know your numbers, you protect what matters, you use your tax breaks, and then you rinse and repeat. So this is my 6-step simple approach to sorting out your personal financial planning. And I'm just going to go through these 6 steps, and if you've got any questions at the end, then I'm more than happy to answer them. The thing about these steps, I would say, is that they are just simple, so I'm not going into a lot of detail on them. Personal financial planning can be quite complicated, but it's also very much related to you as an individual, and hopefully you'll see when I go through these that is the focus, definitely on you as an individual and what you want. Okay, so let's get started. Pause for breath. Let's get started. Okay, define success. Well, what do I mean by that? You can see I've got exit against this. So have you ever written a business plan? Yes, of course you've written a business plan, but do you also have a life plan? And the reason I ask that is because I believe that life planning actually comes before financial planning. So yes, I am a financial advisor and a financial planner, but I believe that we should all start by looking at our life plan. And what I mean by life plan is really looking at what you want to do in the future. A life plan needs to be considered as far as the future is concerned. We're so caught up in the day-to-day, we're so caught up in the present, but it's really worth taking a few moments, taking yourself off for a couple of hours, sitting down with a cup of coffee, a nice piece of cake, and really thinking about what the future might look like for you. You know, what might your future look like? You don't have to go a long way ahead if you don't feel comfortable doing that. I mean, often people say to me, oh God, you know, retirement, I can't think about retirement, that's far too long in the future. But what would your life look like in 1, 3, 5 years? Start with that. Start by dreaming and thinking about what it might look like. The next part of this first step is to ask yourself some questions. Now, a question I always ask new clients is, why is money important to you? And I get all sorts of answers. It's a really interesting question. And I'd like you to think about it and think, why is money important to you? If you're running a business, then money does play a part in that, inevitably. And although money often is not the be all and end all for people, particularly if they've got a business that they really love, it does make the world go round, it does pay the bills, and it is important. And the other thing that I would suggest that you ask yourself is, what would you change about your situation right now? So remember, we're talking about your life plan and thinking about that. So what would you change about your situation right now? Are you living your ideal life at the moment, or are you dreaming about what you'll do in the future? So it's good to spend some time and think about these things. And although they may not be obvious as far as your financial planning is concerned, it's really important to understand what it is that you really want out of life, because then it helps you to work out how your money and your financial planning fits into that. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so all business owners need an exit strategy. Now, I suspect that quite a lot of people here don't have an exit strategy, because that is generally my experience when I'm talking to business owners. Lots of people will have an idea of what they might want to do later on. So they might say, oh yeah, I'm going to sell the business for X million, or actually, no, I don't want to sell the business. I want to get somebody in to run it so that I can work less hours, but I can still draw an income from it. Don't really think I'm ever going to want to retire. So those are the sort of things that I hear, and I completely understand it. But it is really important to have thought through what your exit strategy from the business might be. And remember, it's not just about retirement either. It's also thinking about a possible exit strategy when it comes to possible disaster scenarios. So an exit strategy is more a plan B, I would say. It's an alternative to being in the business and running the business on a day-to-day. So it's worth thinking about that. Right, so that's step one, is really understanding what your life plan is, what your goals and objectives are, what it is you're aiming for, and also what your values are around all of these things as well. The second step is to understand risk. And what does this mean? Well, in my experience, when I, as a financial advisor, mention the word risk, people immediately think about risk profile and investment and associate it with that. If you've had anything to do with a financial advisor, you've probably gone through either a questionnaire or, excuse me, been asked questions about, excuse me, ask questions about what your risk profile is in terms of investing. But risk is so much wider than that. And it means so many different things to different people. Our perception of risk can be very different. You might feel that to take a risk with your money by investing is a big ask, but there's a good chance that you take risks every day in your business. You will take every risk every day in your business. There is often a contradiction between what a business owner will tell me they are doing in their business and then what they tell me they want to do with their money in terms of investing. So understanding risk and the different aspects of risk is really important. And when we talk about risk in terms of your personal financial plan, what we're looking at are two things. We are talking about your appetite for risk and your capacity for loss. So your appetite for risk is, I think I can best explain that as your emotional side. So you might say, oh no, don't want to take any risks with my money, and that might be coming from all sorts of things. That might be coming because you've had a bad experience from investing in the past. It might be that you've had a bad experience with somebody misleading you. It might be that you've seen situations perhaps with your parents. Our parents often influence us when it comes to the level of risk and how we feel about money. So taking a risk might seem a very emotional thing. It might feel as though it is something that comes from your emotion rather than being rational. So your appetite for risk might be governed by how you feel about it rather than capacity for loss, which is actually what you can do as far as the risk is concerned. So capacity for loss, when I talk to people about capacity for loss, then what I'm talking to them about is the situation that we had in March, for instance, last year, when all the markets plunged. And then it's a matter of saying, okay, so how did you feel about that? That's your appetite for risk. That's your emotional aspect. Did it worry you? Were you checking things? Were you really scared? Or were you laid back about it? Compared to capacity for loss, well, if you happen to be somebody who was planning on retiring in March, April, May, and you saw the market go down, it might be that that would have had a big impact on your pension fund. So your capacity for loss at that time would not have been great. You wouldn't have wanted your pension fund to be going down then. So capacity for loss is thinking about what the impact of the investments have on your personal financial security. And it's a really important part of the whole risk assessment. And I'd encourage you to think about that. Think about those two things. How do you feel about taking risk, emotional side, versus how much risk can you take? Because those two aspects are really important. And then relate it to your business. Because obviously I'm talking as a financial advisor and an investment manager, but it's also worth thinking about this in terms of your business. So you might be prepared to take lots of risk in your business, but can you? And is it really a good idea to have all your eggs in one basket? Is it really a good idea to have everything tied up in your business and not be putting assets into your personal name, which of course is what I'm talking and trying to encourage you to do. Okay. Right, timescale. Timescale is really important as well as part of understanding your risk, because if you've only got a short time until retirement, obviously you're going to want to take less risk than if you've got a long period of time and until retirement. Okay, so hope you're with me. Step 3. Okay. Step 3 is know your numbers. Now, you're all business people, so you know how important it is to know your numbers, don't you? And the same thing applies to your personal finances. But it's actually quite surprising how little people know about their numbers when it comes to their personal finances. I often find that people have very little idea about how much they're spending, for example. They can find it out quite easily, but they don't have a good handle on how much they're actually spending. And it is really important to know what your income is, how much you're spending. So I start by suggesting that you have your own personal balance sheet. So again, as a business owner, you have a balance sheet. And what I'm suggesting is that you should have a personal balance sheet as well. So start by creating your own personal balance sheet. And it's pretty straightforward. All you do, list all your assets with values. So you've got your house, you've got your cash, investments, policies, put everything down and put a number on it. It doesn't have to be completely accurate. It's just a ballpark figure. Next, list all your liabilities. So your mortgage, loans, any car leases, how much do you actually owe? And then what we get to is your net worth. So your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities, and that is your net worth. That is the bottom line on your personal balance sheet. Next, still following the theme of the business, we have your personal profit and loss. So again, you know, as business owners, what a profit and loss is. So we're going to do the same thing with your personal finances. So list all the money you receive net of tax. So your salary, your bonuses, dividends, any investment income, any rental income. That's all your net income. Allow for tax. It makes it much easier. And then look at what you spend. Now, I like to split expenditure into 3 parts. Number 1, you have your basics. So that is your mortgage, your food, your house bills, all the essentials, the things that you really have got to have in order to live. And then the second category is your lifestyle. So it's probably this that you're not spending quite as much on, actually. So this is things like eating out, cinema, entertainment, new clothes, the things that really make your lifestyle enjoyable. So that's number 2. And then the third category is luxuries. So luxuries will be things like travel, gifts, treats that you might buy for yourselves, the non-essential things. Really things like buying new furniture for the house, or maybe even things like doing work on your house. That is in the third category really, because it's not completely essential. And then what we're looking at is we're looking at your profit and loss. So the bottom line is your income minus your spending. So the question is it positive or is it negative? And you'll only know that if you do this exercise. And I think that possibly a reason that lots of people don't actually do this is because secretly they know they're spending more than they're receiving in income, and they really just don't want to face it. But I think, you know, knowing that and dealing with that is a good starting point. So we always want to try and aim to cover your basic and your lifestyle spending. That is the goal, is to make sure that your basic and lifestyle spending is covered. Any surplus, i.e. your luxury, you then have the choice as to whether you spend or you save. And that's really up to you, and it depends on what you're trying to achieve as far as your future financial planning is concerned. Now, I'm going to mention something called the FIRE movement, which I know Louise has referred to, and I know Stu referred to it as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the FIRE movement. If you haven't come across this before, then there is quite a lot on the internet. You can Google it, and you can find quite a lot of articles for and against it, actually. Now, the FIRE movement for me is a great idea. It stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And it's aimed primarily at people who want to retire early. So the idea is that you save between 50 and 75% of your income so that you can retire in your 30s or 40s. So it's quite extreme. And I suspect that it's really most popular with people that really are doing jobs and working at things that they don't like. I suspect that most business owners do not feel the need to retire early, and probably are not going to want to spend 50 to 75% on their income actually saving for that. But I do support the idea of becoming financially independent as soon as possible. I think that's a great idea. And I also support the fact that you do absolutely have to have a plan in order to achieve your objectives. So the FIRE movement is great. Financial independence, yeah, retire early. Well, if you want to retire early, that's great. But for me, financial independence is about having the freedom to decide what you want to do with your life. And if retiring early is what you want to do, then that's great. But even if you don't want to retire early, having financial independence means that you have choice. You can decide how you want to spend your time and what you want to do with it. So that for me is the reason that I think this FIRE movement is interesting, but not necessarily for everybody. Okay, so moving on, step 4, protect what matters. Now, you will have insurance on your house, your car, even your pets probably, but do you have insurance for yourself? That is the question. So insurance is there to cover disaster scenarios. We have, as financial advisors, we are highly regulated, and we have lots of compliance to do. So the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, requires us to have something called a disaster recovery plan. And it's actually quite a useful document, or quite a useful exercise, because what you do is you go through everything that could possibly go wrong with your business. So, you know, what happens if there's a flood? What happens if the systems break down? What happens if, you know, somebody leaves unexpectedly? What it didn't have was what happens if there's a pandemic. And I don't think the FCA had really thought about that. But that said, having a disaster scenario recovery plan means that, in fact, dealing with a pandemic is one of the things that you can actually put in place. So, yeah, disaster recovery plans are a good idea. So I'd encourage you to think about your own business in that context, but more importantly, think about your own personal financial planning. So what have you got in place to protect what matters? So the first place to start, I think, is your emergency cash reserve. So I encourage all of my clients to make sure that they have got some cash that they can pull out really quickly if they need it. And a good place to start is to aim for about 3 months worth of expenditure, which is why you need to know how much you spend, obviously. So 3 months worth of expenditure is a good starting point. If that isn't possible, just make sure that you've got £1,000 somewhere that you can actually tap into. You know, people genuinely do not have a lot of cash sometimes. So just make sure that you've got some money that you can tap into if you really need to. But emergency cash reserves, I'd encourage 3 months, building up probably to 6 months. As a business owner, it will depend on your circumstances. If you are a sole trader, then you probably want to get to a point where you've got even more than 6 months available to you, because you know, it may be that it would have a bigger impact, and 12 months worth of expenditure somewhere safe and easy to access is a very sensible thing to do, and it also helps you to sleep at night as well, so it makes a lot of sense. So emergency cash reserves is definitely protecting what matters, sorry. And then these are the things that everybody should have and not everybody has. So you should have a will. I'm amazed that people don't have wills, so you should definitely have a will, and make sure that your will is current and updated, and you review it regularly. LPOA, that stands for Lasting Powers of Attorney. Lasting powers of attorney are really important for business owners, because what it does is it puts in place the authority for somebody else to run your business for you if you're not able to do so. So ask yourself the question, if I wasn't able to run the business, particularly if you've got staff, what would happen as far as paying them, for instance? Does somebody else have access to your bank account? Or if you weren't around to pay them, would they get paid? So these are just again thinking through possible disaster scenarios in your business, but in your business affects your personal life. You should have life insurance, and you should have income protection, and these 4 things are I think essentials for any individual, but certainly any business owner. All right, okay, we're looking at tax breaks now. I'm rushing through this. I think I'm going to be finishing early, so we're going to have more time for questions. Tax breaks. Okay, so we've just had the budget, and wasn't too bad. I think we can have a chat about that afterwards if you're interested. So the budget froze allowances, so all our personal allowances and you know, pension contributions, lifetime allowance for pension funds, those were all frozen. And of course corporation tax is increasing, although not straight away. I'm always surprised that people do not use their tax breaks. They do not use the things that are given. It's free money. Pay a pension contribution, you get tax relief. It's free money. Why wouldn't you use free money that the government? We all pay a lot of tax, so let's get some of it. Let's get some of it back. I'm going to talk a little bit about company pension contributions, because this is something that if you have your own company, you should definitely be making company pension contributions. One of my most popular blog posts, and also in fact my YouTube video, is where I'm talking about the fact that people who own businesses very often pay themselves by taking a low salary and then topping up with dividends. And if that's you, I won't be surprised, because that is also something that most accountants will encourage their company directors to do. The problem with paying yourself a low salary and paying dividends to top up, it's very tax efficient. But the problem is that when it comes to making a pension contribution, your personal pension contribution is limited to 100% of your salary. You cannot offset your personal pension contribution against dividends. So if you're only paying yourself £8,000, but you want to make a pension contribution of £20,000, you're limited because your salary is £8,000. The way around it is to get your company to fund your pension contribution. And for me, it's a lot more tax efficient to do that anyway, because effectively what it means is you're taking more money out of the company and putting it into a really tax efficient personal savings plan for the future. So company pension contributions are not restricted to salary. So as long as your income is not more than 200,000, which is the amount where pension contributions start getting tapered, and you know, most people are not over 200,000, particularly small business owners. So you will have scope for a pension contribution of £40,000 in the tax year, and the budget has not changed that. So £40,000 is the maximum annual allowance that everybody has. The company can pay up to £40,000, even if your salary is only 8,000. If your salary is very, very small, it can pay £40,000, as long as it's justified as a business expense, and you can check that with your accountant. Then the company can make a pension contribution. It's not treated as a taxable benefit. So as I said, it's extra money coming out of the company in a tax efficient way into something that you have control of, and eventually you will be able to use to provide you with financial security at a later date. It's also possible to use something called carry forward. I could talk about that in question and answers if you want me to, but carry forward is a way of increasing pension contributions over and above the 40,000. You can go back a few years. So we often have people that have had a bumper year. You know, there's not lots of people around that have had a bumper year, but a lot of people have done quite well over the last 12 months, even with everything going on. So some people have got extra profits and they want to look at putting large contributions in, and this is a way of doing that. Now, if you're thinking, oh, pension's boring, I would like to suggest that you hold that thought, because pensions can actually be really good tax planning and really good business planning. I have spent the last years talking to people about how they use their pension schemes in conjunction with their business. And one of the most popular things that we regularly do with people is we use their pension fund to buy a commercial property, which they then rent back from their pension fund in their business. So it's a lovely way of buying a property, a commercial property, in a very tax efficient environment, and then being able to use it in your business. So effectively what you do is you get all the tax relief, and then you pay yourself rent, which is a tax liable business expense in your company, and you've got the use of the property. All very nice. So I would encourage you to think about pensions in a different way. Gone are the days when we used to just give money to Standard Life and, you know, not see it for 30 years. Pensions can be a really, really valuable part of your business planning and your personal financial planning. So I'd encourage you to do that. The other thing that you can do, although it's a little bit less straightforward, is the pension fund can actually make a secured loan back to the company. So it has to be secured. It has to be secured on a physical asset. So, but it is, you know, that is something again that sometimes people find helpful. If you've got pension funds all over the place, sometimes it's a good idea to look at consolidating them all, bringing them into one pot, and then managing them properly. Even if you don't want to buy commercial property, it's still worth doing that, because you can then focus on what you've got and start making sure that it works properly for you, rather than just having it all over the place and not really knowing what you've got. Okay, so please think about company pension contributions, and please think about pensions as part of your financial planning. Okay, rinse and repeat. I've put this in because this is the 6th step in my simple steps to get your personal financial personal financial planning sorted. Once you've done all of this, it's so important to review it. I have a meeting with clients at least once a year when we go through everything. And it's surprising what changes. Attitude changes, circumstances change, financial stuff changes. It is really, really important to review and set new goals for the coming year. So sorry if you've heard the bell, the postman's just arrived. The joys of working from home. Right, okay, so here we go. So this is what I do with clients. So I have a one-page financial plan that I use. I think financial planning can seem to be really complicated and overwhelming, and I think it's a great idea just to have a single page that summarizes everything. So this is an example of the sort of thing that I find helpful, and clients tell me that they find helpful. Why is money important? There's that top line. What are your dreams, goals and objectives over the next 12 to 18 months and longer term? Where have you got to now personally? What's happening? You know, are you working 6 days? You're working 7 days? Would you like to be working less? Put that down on paper, because it's good to focus on it. Financially, where are you? Your net assets, your income, your expenditure, your emergency cash. It's good to have those 4 numbers to hand and just to keep track of them. And then with this financial plan, what we do is we track progress. So what we do is we come back to it each year and we say, okay, what progress have we made? What progress have we made on our strategies and plans? And then what are we going to do over the next 6 months, the next 12 months? And this little one-page financial plan, I think people find really helpful, because it's something that you can have on your desk, you can have on a board in front of you, and it gives you a good reference and a good reminder of what you're trying to achieve. Okay, so I would like to finish by talking to you. No, I'm not going to talk to you, actually. Tim Ferriss, who is the 4-hour week man, is going to just give you a little snippet talking about the cost of inaction. So I'm going to play this video for you, if I can get it to work. Here we go.
Sorry, Hilary, there's no sound. I can't hear sound.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for telling me. Okay, I'm not sure that I know how to do anything about that. I can hear it very well. Okay, I'm not sure I can do anything to...
Actually, sorry, we've just had somebody in the audience say they can hear it. So
right, okay. Good. So I'll just carry on then. Shall I wind it back a bit? It's probably a good idea to wind it back a tiny bit. It's only a minute, so so it's not a long clip, but I think it's quite an interesting one for us. Okay. Sorry. I'm thrown.
To be honest, I've had other people say they can't hear it either. So
okay,
I don't.
We'll stop. Yeah, no, we'll stop then. All right, that's fine. Okay, let me go. All right. I mean, that was my end, really. It was. I mean, I'll just summarise what Tim Ferriss. You can go and find his TED talk on YouTube. Tim Ferriss talks in that video about something he calls fear setting. And fear setting is, you may have seen it, but fear setting is really looking at what could possibly go wrong, and then working it through, which is a little bit like I was talking about with the disaster recovery plan. But the part that I was going to draw to your attention is the cost of inaction. And I think that this is something that really bothers me about business owners in particular, but everybody generally when it comes to personal financial planning. It's one of those things that it's so easy to put off and not get round to. And I think it's worth just asking yourself, if I don't do this now, or if I don't do this over the course of the next few weeks, what impact is that likely to have on my future financial security, and what impact is it likely to have if things go wrong? And so I would encourage you to just do something, get started and do something. This is my information. So my website is cardans.co.uk. There are some YouTube videos up there. I haven't put anything up recently, although I am planning on recording some more because they seem to be going down quite well. Or feel free to email me if you have a query or would you like some more information at hello@cardans.co.uk. So finished. Okay. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Hilary. That was we often put our head in the sands and don't think about all the obvious things that you have you've pointed out today. And I love the one sheet that you put up there. I'm sure everybody would agree with that. That it really focuses the mind as to, you know, where you want to go, etc. Let's get everybody in the room so we can start the Q&A. Gareth's going to let you all into the room now so we can all have a discussion about, I tell you what, my mind's sort of racing, if I'm honest, because it's all the things that we know, but we don't necessarily do. So yeah, let's welcome everybody into the room. I'm sure people are feeling the same way that I am. Here we go. Let's get everybody in. Here we go. Good morning. Morning. Nice to see you all. Hi. Morning.
Morning.
Here we go. Hi.
Hi guys.
Hi. Nice to see you. Right. I think that's most people coming in.
Morning.
Brilliant. Wow. So who's hands up? Who's feeling like I am? Head in the sand. Probably should be. There's going to be a few people in the audience thinking like that, to be honest.
Brilliant though.
Yeah, really good to highlight these things. So yeah, thank you very much, Hilary. I'm going to hand over to Hilary to run this Q&A session. So if anybody's got anything in particular they want to ask, I'll pass over to Hilary and let's just bounce it around the room and see what we think.
Okay, so thank you. I hope it was helpful. I mean, it's always difficult when you've got an audience like this to know what level to pitch it at, but I do feel that we all need to be reminded of the basics, and I think that it's like lots of things. We know what we should be doing, we're just not doing it, and it applies to lots and lots of things. So hopefully it's helpful, but I'm happy to answer any questions now. So fire away. Who would like to ask me a question? Right.
Anybody got a question?
Oops, there we are.
The question, sorry, Sheila, yeah.
It's not a question. I just want to go back to the beginning where you said about money being important. I always remember something that Zig Ziglar said. He said money ranks up there with oxygen.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's yeah, you miss it when you don't have it. I think that's the thing. We take it for granted, but you know, as business people, it is an important part of running a business. You need money to run a business successfully, and you need it to pay your own bills as well. So
yeah, and it's never the root of all evil. It's what you do with it.
Yeah,
so don't do anything evil.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's I always say to people, it's a nice problem to have. So not rather than not have it. So yeah.
But can I just ask you about the lasting power of attorney? Yeah. Can you talk us through that? Because I certainly have never really thought about that. I have thought about it. You know, I've got, you know, elderly parents. My husband's father, he had to give us his power of attorney because he became unwell. Never really thought about it from a business perspective, so I just wondered whether you could talk through that a bit more.
Yeah, well, it's the same sort of thing, really. I mean, a good solicitor will talk to you as a business owner and apply the rules of being a business owner to your lasting powers of attorney. So it's the same. You have the health and you have the financial. There's two types. I don't think that people always think as business owners about what would happen if they weren't around. I mean, they might think about it, but they don't necessarily follow it right the way through. And it's a little bit like I was talking about our disaster recovery plan, and just sort of thinking about that. Who controls the company bank account? Do you have, if you're not able to authorize payments, what happens? Do those payments not happen? Is there somebody else that can authorize those payments? Because if there isn't, and you're unwell, or you're stuck somewhere, or what happens in the situation? So it's that really. It's just making sure that you've got a document in place that deals with that situation.
Has anybody else got anything to add on to that? Has anybody else thought about that as part of their business? Joe? Oh, sorry, Joe and then Sheila.
I haven't actually. Again, a bit like you, Lou, I thought about it in the context of my parents, and that's kind of all sewn up. But you just kind of think, gosh, if anything did happen, it adds to the chaos that you leave for your other half or your children to sort out if, the worst happens to you and they're in that terrible place. Imagine burdening them with all that as well. Yeah, my to-do list has grown by about a foot.
I'm sorry about that, but it's a good thing.
It's a very good thing. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I think it's the last 12 months has shown us that we do have to think about the unexpected, and okay, you can't plan completely, but you can have contingency plans, and you can reassure yourself that you've actually thought through, and you've got you've got alternatives if something goes wrong. Particularly if there's just a few of you in the business, or you're working on your own, it is important, I think. I
think as Joe sort of said, I think if your business is supporting your family or a partner or whatever, and then something happens to you, they've got no access to anything if you've not allowed that. So it's certainly something to think about, definitely.
Yes, it is. And the thing about having a formal document rather than just sort of doing it is that it only comes in if it's absolutely necessary. So if you're worried about giving somebody else access to your bank account, then that's why it's a good idea to have a legal agreement instead, rather than just give them access. So yeah.
I just want to add, take that very, very seriously. 15th of February 2006, I went to work, completely normal day, and I came home and my husband had suffered a massive stroke. That's turned our world completely upside down. Well, thank heavens I'm still okay, but if something had happened soon to me, it completely and utterly changed the whole dynamic of everything around our life. So you don't know, you just don't know.
No, you're right.
No, so they should be put in place, definitely.
Yeah, very, very good advice. Yeah. Anybody else got anything? Hi, Shumi. I haven't seen you for a while. Nice to see you.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, my sabbatical is over.
Oh, good. Lovely to have you back.
Thank you. Hilary, this has been a really good start for me, because as Gareth, I've had a long chat with Gareth. We chewed the cud the other day. But I don't know if any of you remember, but January last year, I was in the hot seat and I had all these grand plans about life, work, balance, blah, 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 blah. And then obviously COVID happened and I'm a pet sitter amongst other things, but pet sitting is, Hilary, that's my main source of income. And from mid-February, it just disappeared. I've had maybe 7 bookings in a year now, and in those little windows that we had of people making most of it. But the point of my planning in 2020 was to get pretty much what you've been saying with that financial sheet. I was going to get my foundations in place. It's Peter, wasn't it? The Canadian chap who was
Peter Maservi. Yeah.
So my intention last year was totally to get things in place, get those foundations, financial setup, because then when the money that I did have coming in, I could then use it to reinvest into the business and grow from it. But actually, I've had no business coming in. So what I've done is looked at my life balance rather than the work-life balance. And now looking at this year as the implementation of those, I've kind of worked on that. So your timing is perfect. In fact, I put in a WhatsApp. Nobody came to me. I thought this was a chance to get some money. I did actually put a request out for anyone who had financial planning and life planning and all that sort of stuff in. So now you've popped up. It's obviously universe, so I shall be in touch with you later.
Yeah.
The thing is exactly that, because now we've had to do equity release as part of our financial kind of assessment. And it's freed us up. So we're in a position to do some of those things that you were talking about. It feels very grown up now to do powers of attorney and the wills and the trusts and everything. We've got a special needs child, so we have to do a trust. What I was going to ask you is things like, I've got insurance policy for self-employment, but how are they treating things like COVID as part of and pandemic now? Because I didn't bother to apply for my insurance last year. I just assumed from what I was hearing that it wasn't going to be relevant. And what I'm also hearing is that these kind of pandemics and lockdowns are going to be part of the new normal. There's more pandemics on the horizon. We are, you'd have to be really naive to think that we're not going to go into lockdown at some stage or restriction some point during this year. So even though I've got like a better baseline now through equity, I'm still going to suffer from financial deficit from this situation. What insurances are in place, or what can I do to help with that?
Well, insurance is not my thing, but I do know that at the moment there's a fight going on, isn't there? Because one of the insurance companies wasn't paying out because of the pandemic, and I believe that has been reversed, and they have been told that they have got to pay out. So hopefully that will mean that that any other policies that so far haven't paid out as a result of because it was business interruption insurance, I think, that was, as I said, that's general insurance, so that isn't my area, but that's my understanding. When I'm talking about it, I'm talking more about sort of income protection through illness and injury, that sort of thing. That's the area that I'm involved with. I've got
that as well. I mean, in terms of what you're saying in today's talk, in one sense, I know you've talked about emergency planning. I know last year there was a session, wasn't there, on emergency planning that Signal had run, but a lot of the stuff you're doing is in an ideal situation. People, when they've got money to save, to be able to put that 3 months by. The reality is, certainly my reality as a small business owner over the last few years, is that I'm paying my bills. I'm wiping my face, as that chap says on the television. I haven't got the capacity to build up reserves. And yet a lot of good financial planning is waiting for you to have that opportunity to have income flowing through, so you can pay off debt and also start building up reserves. How do you put the two together? Because, as I said, with COVID coming through, this is more going to be the reality of life rather than anything else.
Yeah, I understand the problem, but the difficulty is that if that continues indefinitely, then you never get to a point where you're going to be putting aside things for the future. So you're just going to be working until you're 103. It's and you may not be physically able to do that. So I guess it's about choice, really. I mean, yes, at the moment it's a particularly difficult time for some people, so I'm not suggesting that it might be possible now, but as soon as you get an opportunity to find a little bit of extra, put it aside, build up this emergency cash fund. It's so much nicer to know that you've got £1,000 tucked away that you can dip into if you absolutely need to, than having to sort of scrabble around and go overdrawn. So I mean, I think it's just important just to find a way. Really, you can't magic it out of nowhere, but find a way. And it doesn't it doesn't have to be big amounts. I know I was talking about big amounts because some businesses do have a lot of money available, but small is good as well, just what you can afford, really, and do it as soon as possible as well, because that's the thing. If kids started saving when they were 20 into a pension fund, you know, they would have lots of money by the time they got to 30 or 40. It's just we don't start early enough. We leave it and leave it and leave it. So as soon as you can, I would say. I know that.
I think if I can just jump in there, I think one of the key things that you said, certainly for me, is that sheet and the plan and what you want. I think if you've got a plan, then you kind of stick to it. I can only relate this back to about 6-7 years ago. We went traveling to Asia for 4 months. We packed our bags and went backpacking, which was lovely. And when we came back, we said, we don't need anything. We don't need materialism. We've backpacked for 4 months. I don't need clothes, I don't need shoes, I don't need all of that, because but then you start earning money again and you start slipping into that sort of lifestyle again, and that's naturally what happens, because you think, oh, that's lovely, oh, I'll need Sky and Netflix, and I need this and I need that. Whereas when you came back from that scenario, you didn't necessarily think you needed anything, because you could just live this free life. But in this world in which we live here, it's very difficult to have that. So I think if you have a plan, as you've said before, and you know what your plan is, then you're more inclined to sort of stick to it and say, well, actually, if I do that, I'm going to deviate from the ultimate plan. So I've never really put that into context before, of having a definite plan and saying, you know, every so often I sort of pick myself up and go, no, I literally don't need another handbag. I literally just don't need it, but it's gorgeous, but I don't need it. And I think we all sort of go through those kind of things. But if you've got the plan, then you probably would.
Yeah, I think.
Joanna.
Yeah, I was just going to say, similar to what Louise has said, try going back to university for, well, effectively it was 4 years for me, and living like a student with no money. And that has a really good way of stripping back all the niceties. But because it was quite a bit longer than your 4 months, what I found was that I then formed habits around not spending. So so Sue the other week was talking about her diffuser, and I was like, oh, I could buy myself that. But then I was like, I knew I had some bills coming in. So my instinct now has gone to the other extreme, is whereas when I was in my 20s, I was like spending money like it had gone out of fashion. Now I would I probably only live off about £400 or £500 a month at most. And that's mostly just paying bills for me. Everything else that I have, I get squirreled away into bank accounts, and it's become quite compulsive for me. Just that saving.
Yeah, that's really good, and I think it is about habit. It's about getting some good habits, and I think if you don't have, you know, if you don't have lump sums to put into ISAs, for instance, put in a little bit each month. Just start the habit and just build on it. As you say, it can become quite addictive. When you see it growing, so yeah, habits are good. I mean, the FIRE movement is all about what you were saying, really, Joanna, which is save as, you know, just save as much as you can. Don't spend very much, so that you're getting yourself to a situation where you don't have to work, really. That's what the FIRE movement is about, and I think there are aspects of it which are really helpful to consider.
I agree. So most of you know my life plan is that I want to be able, not that I will, because I'm not someone that could ever do nothing, like ever stop, but I want to be in a position where at 40 I don't have to work. That's my goal, that by the time I'm 40, I can, you know, if I wanted to, I can still work, or I can not. That's where I want to get to, and everything I do builds up to that with everything that I've done. But, you know, I agree. I don't fully agree with the FIRE movement in the amount that you put away in that, because I can't do that. But everything that I do in my head, every step that I make is towards that ultimate goal of being able to at 40 go, see you later, everyone. Yeah. Go and sit on some beach somewhere and not have to worry.
Yeah.
And it gives choice, doesn't it? It gives you choice. That's the point. And there's nothing better than being able to choose, particularly if you can be spontaneous. I think that's a fabulous feeling.
Absolutely. And, you know, over the years I've spoken to lots of business owners about how they view retirement, because retirement is one of those words that people interpret in lots of different ways, and I think gone are the days when retirement meant that you just, you sat in your chair and watched the television. It's retirement is, for me, retirement is about having choice, as you said, Gareth. It's about getting yourself to a position where you choose whether you work 5 days a week or you work 3 days a week, or you have the choice. You can design what you do, and I think that's what financial independence gives you, and that's why it's important to set aside some of what you've got now for a bit later on. Because you'll always get it, and if you don't get it, somebody else in your family will get it, because that's the way the rules work. So yeah.
Really good. Is anybody, John, you have a question?
Yeah, well, it's really more on behalf of Fiona, but the question is about company pension contributions.
Yeah.
Moment, the only pension contributions going on in this household is Fiona's stakeholder pension from ages ago, which is coming out of a personal bank account. If it was swapped over to the business bank account, paying into that pension fund, does it then become a company pension contribution, or do we actually need a different pension plan that's specifically a company pension scheme?
No, a company can pay into a personal pension or a stakeholder. Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't have to be specifically a company pension scheme. Used to be, but no, that changed a long time ago. So yeah, if you've got a personal pension plan of a type of personal pension plan, and at the moment you're paying the contributions personally, if you're paying them personally, what you'll be getting is you'll be paying them net of basic rate tax. So, and then the provider will collect that 20%. If you're a higher rate taxpayer, you can get higher rate relief against it through your self-assessment. If the company pays it and takes it over, the company pays it gross, but it is treated as a business expense, so you get corporation tax relief against it. So
right.
Okay. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, we'll look into that.
Yeah. There you go, John. A thing on your to-do list to do, John.
Well, yes, that's it. We've actually got 3 points written down from today, so we've
Fantastic.
And we've got to do something about John's pension as well, because he's got a pension from his work that he didn't that he hasn't paid any contributions into at all.
Well, since I left work, since I left my previous job, it just sits as almost like an investment or savings fund. It just sits quietly growing, probably at totally the wrong rate.
Well, yeah, and that's what I wanted to just jump in and say. I would encourage all of you, if you've got pension funds kicking around somewhere, jargon, but if you've got pensions around somewhere, please find them and have a look at them, because those are golden nuggets. That's money that is your money that you may have not given any attention at all. I so often find that people have got a few £1,000s in a pension fund that they've not looked at for years and years. Please, I do encourage you to find this money and at least know what it is, know where it's invested, make sure that it's still appropriate for what you want. Check out the charges. Often these old policies, they're really expensive, and the charging structure of new policies now are much, much lower. So yeah, you need to have a little bit of a declutter and a clear out. So yeah, I'd encourage you to do that, definitely.
Can you talk into an old, because I've got an old government, it's Chichester, West Sussex local government pension thing. I haven't worked in that company that for 15 years now. I can't add to it, can I? I have to start from scratch. It's a frozen account now, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, no, you can add to something like that, and probably something like that is also worth leaving there, because I expect it's a defined, what we call a defined benefit scheme. So but make sure you know what you've got, add it to your list of things when you're doing your planning, because that will be useful money later on when you do decide to take retirement. So yeah, but no, you'd have to set up a new plan.
So with the pensions, so if you're a sort of a sole trader, does it still work the same with the tax? So if you're not a limited company, but you're a sort of a sole trader or someone, does it work the same, or is it different?
Well, if you're a sole trader, then you can only make personal contributions, but it does work the same. So you would make a personal contribution, and that would be net. So that would be net of 20%, and then the contribution would go on to your self-assessment. So if you're paying higher rates of tax, then that would be allowed for within your self-assessment. So yeah, the tax relief works the same. And obviously, if you're a sole trader, then you're not in the same situation as somebody who's got a limited company where they might be taking a small salary and topping up with dividends. If you're a sole trader, all of it's all taxable profits or taxable income. So it goes against that. So slightly different situation. Yeah.
Brilliant. Goodness me, we're all nodding and all writing, which is really good. It's so with these talks, they're all things that you kind of know, but until you sit down and actually like really drill it down, you think, actually, I need to get these things in order. I thought I was pretty organized, to be fair, but I've got a fair old list to get through.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that it's worth having, you know, in the same way as you do your business planning, do your personal financial planning as well. So you know, you're probably all encouraged to set aside some time on a regular basis and look at it. Well, do the same thing with your personal financial planning, because unfortunately I do find that people do focus so much on their business and forget that it's really important to have assets and use the tax release and have money in their personal control. So yeah,
I think it's because when you run a business, it's so consuming running your business. You're just looking at that cash flow, you're looking at all those, it's exciting, and you're marketing, you don't look at all that sort of stuff for your personal, and it often gets put by the wayside. So I think it's a really valid point that we need to sort of look at that side as well, look at ourselves as well as our businesses.
Yeah, definitely, because you know, the sooner the better. Compound interest, get that working and get money growing for you. As I said, even if it's only a small amount, it's fine. Just do something.
Brilliant. Yes, Sheila.
This is just a little extra bit on top, okay? I call it the penny pot. You put into a pot a penny that's the value of the day of the month, and we're now on I think I did look it up. It's what is it? It's today's
the 5th.
It's yes, it's 64p today. So and the most you put in is £3.65 or £3.66 on a leap year, because that's how many days are. You end up with a penny pot that's got over £700 in it.
Mm.
And you don't miss those pennies every day. Yeah, and I've made it my policy that I because I've got a diary where it tells you what the day of the week is, and I put the whole week into the pot. So I'm already got £36 in there, and I haven't missed those pennies.
Wow. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's the luxury money, by the way, Hilary. That's for the luxuries.
Yeah.
The luxury category.
Yeah, well, you'll be able to spend it soon, hopefully.
Has anybody got any other questions? Anybody else got anything to add? Any other questions to ask Hilary whilst she's here? Obviously, the talk will be available as always on the members area along with the presentation, so you can have a look at that one sheet. And we will be having a workbook in week 3, so we'll obviously be, drilling down a few more of these things in our workbook session as well. Good, right. Without any further ado, unless anybody's got anything else to add? No? Good. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming to us. Thank you so much, Hilary. Really amazing things we know, but we just don't do. And when you hear somebody speaking directly at you to tell you that, yeah, you've got to be getting on with this, it's a lot more meaningful. So thank you so much for coming along and giving us your time today. It's really appreciated. And thank you to all of you for coming along and seeing us. It's lovely to see you all. And yes, let March carry on, and we'll see you all again next week don't forget to book on for next week's session, and we'll see you all next week. Take care, everybody. Well done on all the wins as well. Really good. Nice to see you all. Take care. Bye.
Bye.